obviously built with code, but using these tools to create code that can run, as in an automation, or show certain type of data or text or content, whatever, but without actually writing code. I think that would be my definition. And then some people will probably argue that if you create formulas in Zapier in your Google Sheet, then you're also technically writing code. I would argue that that's not really code, but I understand what they're saying. So my definition would be using tools that can create code, that can eventually perform an action, without actually writing the code yourself. Maybe something in that direction, but I'm not 100% finite on that.
That's fine.
What do you think? What's your definition?
Mine's pretty much the same, yeah. Because he argued, then he was like, well, was Excel no code? And I'm just like, I mean,
Yeah.
you could say that, but for me, I just I don't know. I just don't see. For me, it has to be something along the lines of, like, whenever you're like, you can input numbers, but then like there's no like output per se for Excel. You know what I'm saying? So like you can make changes
Well,
on a
if you
website,
define
but
the output with a formula, then it's code technically.
well, I mean,
Yeah.
if you're doing like a specific one, yeah,
I don't know. Yeah, it's a fun discussion, and maybe it's the same. I also saw another blog post. I think, man, I don't know his name. Jeremy. I think he's talking to Tom at MakerPad today. He's an engineer at Uber. He created this blog post about no code, and he was talking about abstraction. Like the abstraction layers built on top of the actual code, and maybe Excel is just one type of abstraction layer. Zapier is another, and Bubble is another, shape, so to say, a certain type of abstraction shape on top of actual code. So I thought that was an interesting angle to think about it. If you're not really writing code, but you're using a tool to create code, then maybe that's just no code. And then yes, Excel is also no code.
that's right.
Yeah, it's fun to follow though. I'm interested to see. I saw, other people are talking about visual development. Yeah, that's also a good term. I think, eventually debating whether the term is right is distracting maybe to the whole movement of, empowering more people to build things.
Yeah, I mean, and the thing is with like, I like the term no code just because like with visual development, I still feel like people were just like, I don't know how to develop. Like, I don't know. It's just,
Yeah,
I feel like they're so used to, you know what I'm saying?
yeah.
So, but
We'll see how it goes.
yeah, for sure. So I'm curious to know actually what this is almost for myself more or less than my users, or my listeners, but what tool did you use, or what tool are you using to use to make your text HTML?
It's called, there's two actually. One is called Puppy Paste. I think it's puppypaste.com.
Okay.
Yeah. And the other one is word2html.net, I think.
Okay. Sweet. Thanks.
Yeah, no worries.
And then so yeah, that's good. So you're a firm believer then that Excel is no code.
Well, I don't want to say firm, but I mean, it's a type of no-code tool, probably. I mean, I've seen people build crazy stuff in Excel that takes a certain type of data and then transforms that into something else. So I mean,
I guess
you
you're
could
right.
argue that Excel is a no-code tool.
Actually, no, you know what? Now that I think about it, I think I'm leaning towards that too, just because like you can build some crazy shit in Excel. Like you can build some advanced stuff.
I mean,
Yeah.
there's people running companies on Excel, so
Yeah.
they are not all technical people, but there's companies running on Excel. So yeah, why shouldn't we call it a no code tool?
That's fair. Yeah. Interesting. So, when's the next? Do you know the next time you'll be in New York City?
No, I'm hoping to go next year. I was there this year in May. But yeah, we'll see. I have some. Well, like I said, I want to talk about maybe going to USC to help teach a class there. But yeah, maybe while I'm at it, we could also organize, uh, or I could also organize a physical workshop. That's one of the things that's definitely on my list to create like in-person workshops in let's say New York or LA or whatever. So we'll see how that goes.
Yeah, well, yeah, that's the reason I asked was just because we'll be throwing monthly events in New York starting in January. So, I would love to have you come talk.
Cool.
And
I'll let you know if I come over.
yeah, no, for sure. Awesome. Well, is there anything else that you wanted to talk about involving no code MVP or the no code space in general?
Yeah, I'm interested to hear like what um, your takeaways are from following this movement for, I don't know, the past few months or how long you've been looking at it. I'm always interested to hear like the different perspectives on what's happening and what people are creating. Well, you
Yeah,
created a podcast about it, so I'm
yeah.
interested to hear like what's your takeaway or like what's the biggest challenge that you see.
So for me, Um, I mean, I would say I've been in no code for probably about a year now. And for me, originally the first thing that was kind of uh, almost the learning curve was so I didn't really hear. I knew of like Wix and stuff, but I wasn't aware of this no code space per se. Um, and then what did I, oh, I got an ad, I think, for Glide apps
Oh
and
yeah.
yeah, so I went and I built like my first app using Excel and everything, and I was super excited. And I found them on Twitter and I followed them, and then I saw them retweet something I think from Ben. So then I
Hmm.
found MakerPad, which then led me to Joe with New Code, and then I just dove down that rabbit hole. And yeah, it led me to no code Twitter, and that's a whole nother world within itself. And keep in mind that I was coming from being like an active member of crypto Twitter. I was in the crypto space for a long time, a few years now. Um,
Oh, cool.
so yeah, it was definitely different than crypto Twitter. And it appealed to me because it was a lot less sketchy. um,
Yeah, well, people have their real faces on their avatars, so
exactly.
that
That's a new to
that
me.
that, that works.
But yeah, so then seeing people like Ben and then Joe and just these other people that were just building things. And I like I said, I only really knew of Glide, and then I don't even remember what the second one I heard of, but then uh learning other ones like Zapier and like APIs and different things like that now that you can do using no code, I was just like my mind was just freaking blown. I was
Yeah.
like, this is
Oh,
sweet.
by the way, yeah, how do you say Zapier? Because I said
That's how I say it. Yeah, I
yeah,
don't even know
yeah,
the right
yeah,
way to
yeah.
say it.
I said Zapier before, and then I saw I think it was Tim Ferriss. He tweeted about it like I just or something like that. He said I just discovered that it's Zapier, as in
Uh,
happier, and not Zapier. So I kind of feel confused now. But I've said Zapier. Yeah, maybe it's because I'm not a native English speaker, but I know it's now Zapier. But uh, I just caught myself that I'm still saying Zapier, but it's Zapier, just like GIF, right?
yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, it's actually funny you say that because I used to say the same thing, and then someone corrected me. They're like, "No, it's Zapier." I was like, "Wow, I probably
Yeah.
have looked like a dumbass for the last like 3 months."
But is it
But
GIF or GIF, or is that for another conversation?
I think that's for another time. We don't
Okay,
want to go
cool.
down that rabbit hole.
No.
But
Okay,
yeah,
that's cool.
so then yeah, I've started discovering tools, and so then I found Bubble, and that was a whole nother mind blow, where you can create like some pretty cool stuff, visually and on the back end side of things. And so yeah, so then I was looking and I was like, oh well, there's no podcast for no code because I was trying to find one to listen to, and and then
Here we
I was
are.
like, well, I'll freaking create it. So then I messaged Joe with New Code on Twitter, and I was like, hey, because I'd been following him for a while. I was like, hey, like, what do you think about this? And he's like, do it, man. So I was like, all right. So then I did it, and I mean, I think the no
Cool.
code space is really awesome, and I think you're gonna see because I think what is it, 1% of the world knows how to code. I think it's like
Yeah.
it's ridiculous, and I mean, to be able to give the other, minus like infants and people that like, like really,
Hmm.
really old people. But giving that
The
other
majority.
99% of the people in the world, like the ability to build things, like visually,
Yeah.
is going to be mind blowing. Like it's going to be crazy because people are just going to have the ability to build things, which may not always be a good thing because then you see people just building things for shits and giggles, but like, but like people that are actually like dedicated to an idea that don't have the money to fork up right away, it's gonna be awesome to see them and see companies being built like Lambda School, built using no code
Yeah, yeah,
tools
yeah.
and then eventually growing into multi-million dollar companies.
Totally. I totally agree. Well, let's see what happens.
Yeah, that's all we can do, right? But
Well, trying to
um,
contribute a little bit, of course.
hey, yeah, that's the same to me, man. Like you said, it's just really trying to provide value to people and hope people enjoy and value what you're giving them.
Totally. Cool, man.
So,
Thanks for the convo.
yeah, no, thank you. I really appreciate you hopping on. And everybody all my listeners, go check out No Code MVP. Make sure to follow Bram on Twitter. I'll provide all his information in the bio. So, thank you guys. Thank you, Bram. I hope you enjoyed today's episode, everyone, and I'll see you next time on No Code, No Problem.